I get questions like this all of the time, so let's break it down. Is it legal for the landlord to make tenants pay if appliances break, such as a stove or a fridge? So it's going to happen. Things are going to go wrong in your building or apartment. It is New York City after all. But really the answer to this question is it depends. So a landlord is not legally obligated to offer any concessions when things break or give you any rent reductions. This is really a negotiation between you and the landlord. So I've seen lots of cases from renters where, let's say like the elevator breaks, the landlord will send an email, apologize hopefully, and say, hey, for the days that the elevator's been broken, I'm going to offer 15% reduction on the rent, or the stove is broken, so I'm going to give you $100 off on the rent. Something being broken in your apartment does not give you the legal bandwidth to stop paying rent. You can do it, but you sort of get into a bit of risky territory. Now, there are things called rent strikes. This is when tenants stop paying rent in their building because of ongoing, persistent, hazardous issues that the landlord is not addressing. So you might decide to start withholding rent. You want to keep this money in an escrow account. It's always best to do rent strikes with the support of a tenant union or even an attorney. I wouldn't recommend that you just stop paying rent without sort of going through the proper steps, because you do open yourself up to eviction when you stop paying rent. So, long story short, if something is broken in your apartment, but your apartment is still livable, it doesn't give you the bandwidth to just stop paying entirely. I would just reach out to the landlord and start conversations. Hey, this hasn't been working for a few weeks. I'd like to negotiate some sort of concession for April's rent. This is a bit different if you have a rent stabilized apartment. If you have a rent stabilized apartment, you can still do that negotiation with your landlord, but if they're not being responsive, you can actually file with DHCR a form of reduction of services. So when your building loses a certain service, appliance breaks, they get rid of the doorman, the rooftop amenity gets taken away, whatever it is, you can file this reduction of services paperwork to DHCR, and then they will take it on for you and then reduce your rent on the history. But honestly, I would just say your best bet, especially, if your landlord is communicative, is just to send them an email, give them a phone call, and just try and negotiate some sort of concession when things are broken.